Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault.
Tim Brando on Twitter to follow him, joining us on the Progressive guest line. People are saying without students on campus, you can't play college football.
We can thank Mark Emmert for opening his mouth and inserting foot. Mark Emmert has no jurisdiction really over college football, but there's a little thing called the 1984 Supreme Court lawsuit won by the universities of Georgia and Oklahoma that forced the NCAA out of the financial realm of college football. It's like the guy in the California system making this sweeping statement about nothing but online classes later in the year, and he's making the decision with data in May. These guys that just want to see their names in print making bold decisions that they don't have to make, they illustrate what happens with misuse of power. And the real leaders are doing the right things behind the scenes, and then they'll make their splash when the time comes. And I'm telling you, I think that time will be sometime next month.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. Into the night.
Tim Kirchin on the line with us from ESPN. You've been around this a long time. Have you ever seen anything this crazy when it comes to two sides trying to get together to figure out how to restart their sport?
No, Tony, I haven't. I covered the 81 strike, and we didn't have, stories every 20 minutes seemingly, but that's what...
What's up, Eitan?
What's up, bro?
And this is why
You can hear me?
I
it's
can
difficult
hear you.
All right, cool.
a deal, because everything that comes out becomes
All right.
thing. Just a small note
Yeah,
becomes
I got
a
you
big
loud and clear.
story, and that's
All right, cool.
Everything
part
good with
of
you?
our business.
I'm okay, man. I'm all right.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ran the Players Association.
Why? Do I seem like I'm out of sorts or something?
No, maybe. Look, I know it's
Negotiated
much more of
and
a
no one
stressful
really-
job than what you have than what I
Away,
do.
and
So
suddenly it was over.
that's why
That
I'm.
is not true.
No, look, I
That
can just
is
bullshit.
Not.
It's not hard for me to talk.
To the night with
You have
Tony
to deal
Bruno
with
and
people
Harry
like me.
Mays.
You know what? For you, it's natural, but it is hard for most people to talk. So your job is probably more difficult than mine. You're running the damn show.
Well,
Here. You want me to be like a regular
There.
talk show host? On him? Should I?
Plus, you're a hell of a lot more entertaining.
that's
him.
not
Not
true.
racking him.
I love chatting with you, man. Trust me.
I know it, but you bring the entertainment factor to it. You can talk anything. That's why I like doing your show.
Well, yeah, that's
Entertaining.
my. I
You never
love
know
doing
when
that.
You're going to get 30 minutes of
Right.
you talking TV shows or what?
Look, it's
To
harder
10
for me to
Eastern.
put a tweet out on what I'm going to talk about than
Into
it
the
is to
night.
actually talk about stuff.
Yes.
We've done
I have
you
no
all
idea.
here.
That shit goes all over.
Want me
You
to
should
be
see,
like a
like,
regular talk show host and just
it's
hang up on
amazing.
him?
Ron
Run him?
is
Should I
just-
run him? Eric? No, I'm not
he
racking
knows
him.
now how
racking him.
easy it is to just set me off on something, not in anger, but in derailment.
I think that's going to be my new
man.
thing. You had to take or two, but for the most part, I got to run you.
Apparently, I have homework. I have to watch The Departed now.
10 Eastern.
Wait a second, really?
Yeah, I've never seen The Departed. Jake and his friend are making me watch it by next weekend.
Instagram.
Wow.
But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes, always for free. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
This is SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's a
Mike's out.
We have a fascinating weekend jam-packed with sports, which I don't know. I think at this point, knowing where we are from a COVID standpoint and from a doomsday scenario standpoint when it comes to all of sports, it's nice to have the PGA, of course, minus a couple of golfers who have tested positive and who have had to withdraw, and a busy night in the UFC. So we'll chat about as much as we possibly can. There's a lot of value on the board right now when it comes to the PGA. So we've seen NBA players, we've seen baseball players, we've seen basically every athlete so far test positive. Jamie Noble in WWE, the latest wrestler to test positive. So if you truly look at how widespread this is going to be, it's now a matter of what can you get away with? What as a league can you do in order to continue to play, in order to continue to put out product, and at the same time, maintain some sense of safety despite the inevitable, which is 1 or 2 or maybe 13, depending on how big the pool of athletes are, 1 or 2 or how many are going to contract it. So it's very difficult to look ahead right now and determine if a sport's going to play, except for one. I think there's one sport, and it's so unfortunate, but this is what happens when you string us along as Major League Baseball has. So we've got 3 days in the books right now with the PGA. We'll hit that coming up in 5 minutes. We also have, as I mentioned, at 6:40 Eastern, we'll go out to the Progressive Guest Line and talk a little bit about some value tonight when it comes to the UFC tournament, the UFC card, pardon me. And on top of that, whenever the other sport-related thing that we'll squeeze out at some point this hour or early on in hour 2 is where, unfortunately, Major League Baseball has found itself. And that's between a rock and a hard place. The NBA is fine right now. They are seeing teams already apply the COVID extension, so where you can add another body to it. The issue right now lies with Major League Baseball. The value, however, lies in the 4th day of the Travelers, and we'll get to that coming up next.
O'Reilly Auto Parts has everything you need for summer car maintenance, and our professional parts people can help you find the best oil change supplies for your car. Get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $28.99, plus a $7 gift card after mail-in rebate. For your summer oil change, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
The final season of inventory is happening now at Copperleaf. Experience the finest in traditional Western living and great outdoor recreation with your gorgeous 1 to 3 plus acre mountainside home site. Priced from only $79.9. Plus, for a limited time, pay no closing costs. This spectacular mountain paradise offers pristine Rocky Mountain views, private access to the historic Shoshone River for incredible blue ribbon trout fishing, a prime location next to the entrance of Yellowstone Park for hiking, sightseeing, and nature walks, plus modern amenities including central water and sewer, underground electric, and more. During your private Copperleaf tour, you can choose to drive your own vehicle or take advantage of our safe and sanitary tour options. Call 866-935-2636 and ask how to take a live video tour of your beautiful 1 to 3 plus acre mountainside home site. Priced from only $79.9 at Copperleaf. Don't wait. 866-935-2636 to take a live video tour of Copperleaf or visit copperleafwyoming.com.
My name is Megan Eddings, founder and CEO of Excel Lifestyle. Research shows that wearing a face mask drastically reduces the spread of the coronavirus. Excel Lifestyle's Prima antibacterial face masks are soft, washable, and double layer for added protection. To purchase you and your loved one's face mask, please go to excellifestyle.com. That's ACCEL lifestyle.com. Once we receive your order, we will ship your masks out immediately. Thank you and stay safe.
Looks like everything's back. Huh?
What you mean?
Backed up. I meant like back in the house. Bars are closing.
Yes.
This is SB Nation.
Yeah, we're down to all our bars are closed, and we're down to 50% for restaurants.
Get mortgage by Quick
And it's going to change again.
from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios.
Mike's hot.
Ender.
So let's start with the live action. And wrapping up today, you had the third round of the Travelers. Todd at the top, DJ Streelman, some names that you should know. I don't know how many people know Brendan Todd as far as household name is concerned, but we definitely have an eye on the leaderboard as we're all wrapped up, and one big name that is still in contention and another name that just increases his awareness outside of the golf world in Bryson DeChambeau, and kind of looking at what he's been able to do consistently. He might be right now the most consistent golfer on the planet. You have Phil just lingering. So beyond that, we've got a pretty eventful card tonight in the UFC. Bets have already been placed. This time, what was this last weekend, right? John Belmer, of course, is hanging for the full 3 hours tonight. And I think this was when you were with me last week where we placed the normal heavyweight parlay, which is not the heavyweight division. It's finding the top three, or maybe if we push it, four heaviest odds and lining them all up for a parlay and ultimately getting something in the plus 180 or plus 220. So the strategy, just to refresh John and everybody else's memory out there, the strategy that we have applied that has worked way more than not. And yeah, it's probably like 6-2, but that's a hell of a sample size when you're talking about a betting strategy, especially something as limited as the UFC that's not played on a regular basis like baseball or even the NBA and NHL to a lesser extent. So what we have is the top 3 or 4 heaviest odds, but we don't take any fight in which the opponent is less than plus 200. Meaning, if there's a man or woman who is out there at minus 360, but their opponent is plus 180, stay away. That's not enough value right there to make it a lock. And those fights have been the two that have bit us in the you-know-what are ones in which we stretched it. And one of the two, mind you, was last week. One of the two was when we tried to sneak around this, looking at some pretty good value on the board. And, of course, it was way too good to be true, because we had a couple of fights, 2 fights, mind you, and those were the ones who lost. Those big upsets, you saw it. So tonight, right now at least, and man, this Will Gordon that I took, Gordon was 9 under yesterday, 2 off the lead, and I got him at 10 right there to pay out 360 because he was at plus 350. I'm thinking, what the heck? Xander. Took him on Friday, early Friday morning. Thought, what the heck? Not looking good for either one of these guys. Xander is actually 9 off the lead. He would need to shoot a 60 and have people in front of him crumble. I don't know if that's realistic at this point. But the bet tonight that we laid out from the UFC rolls as follows. Now, we did this as a 5-pick parlay. And one of the fights is already voided because of the Miranda Maverick and Mara Roma Barella, right? That fight has been voided. So that's not going down. But Amanda Ribas is not going to fight until July 11th, and she's the final leg in this now 4-fight parlay. First, and you can look at that kind of at the end, she's at minus 770. Paige Van Zandt is her opponent, and Ribas comes in at minus 770. Now, July 11th, that's enough time for this thing to drop, depending on how heavy people bet Van Zandt. So I don't anticipate Van Zandt coming into that fight anywhere lower than plus 250, and that would take a miracle, seeing how Ribas is minus 770 right now. Tonight, expected at 8 o'clock Eastern, Julian Erosa takes on Sean Woodson, and we have Woodson on the ticket at minus 455. Brendan Allen fights at 9:15 Eastern. He's at minus 305. Mike Perry, 9:45 Eastern at minus 315. All of their opponents above +2, at least 210 on the return. So let's see. So far, 6-2 on the weekly record. Now, were you with me, John, last week when this thing busted?
I don't remember if I was or not.
Okay. I mean, you work, I think, 7 days a week, right? Like I do. So on this network, and I'm sure you're fried. So I get it. It's a lot of these little things, these subtle things like what Shander's doing on a Saturday might slip through the cracks. I get you, brother. Trust me. But I was just curious if that thing busted on, and I even said it out loud a couple of times as we were laying through this ticket. I was last week saying, you know what? This is how we get greedy. This is how we get a little more and bite off a little more than what we should. So there's the ticket right there. We'll see if, in fact, this thing plays out. The first fight, and really only fight that will be on for us, is the Sean Woodson, Julia Erosa fight, and that's at 8 o'clock Eastern, scheduled at least, and Woodson's at minus 455. So that'll be a good indication because he's the heaviest odds now, at least fighting tonight, heaviest odds fighter tonight. So that's a pretty good test case to see how this night's going to go from the heavy favorites. As far as the big board on the PGA, at Shander Shows, they get me on Twitter, twitch.tv/Shander Show, Evening Bo 316 on Twitch, 800-224-2004. If you'd like to weigh in on the line, that's always an option. Here's the thing with heading into the final round. There's going to be a heavy play on the big names. But I think what we have to do is kind of cut where that line is of expectations. And some of it is who's in front. The other part of it is where we're trying to kind of sift through a name versus what they did yesterday or really throughout the course. And that being Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So, yes, you can just pour on Phil Mickelson right now because he's hanging around at 12 under. And here comes Sunday Phil for whatever that's worth, which probably isn't much. But you're probably going to get some pretty good value. And I'm looking at it right now. Winner, as far as tomorrow is concerned, Phil is sitting at plus 5,000. And it's not because of Phil Mickelson. It's because where Brendan Todd is, who has shot the ball consistently for 3 days, but still shooting a 9 under today, where Todd is, it's going to be very difficult for anybody at 12 under to win this thing. That's why that Will Gordon bet is cooked. He's sitting at 11 under. He shot a 1 over today, and that's what you get. Victor Hovland, a lot of people, we had Jared Smith on Friday from Sports Grid, FanDuel, Wager Talk, everywhere, and he said that was a sneaky pick. It's unfortunate, but despite a 3 under today, it's not enough. 7 off the lead, not enough. Scott Stalling, it doesn't matter. Kevin Na doesn't matter. Well, now maybe because he's right where Bryson is, but still, I don't think that I would count on him as much as I would Bryson based on what he's capable of right now. It looks as if, though, 5 is the largest I'd go. 5 right now is truly the largest lead deficit that I would look at any value for Sunday when it comes to the big board here. Dustin Johnson, you're going to get plus 200 to win this thing. He's 2 off. This looks like good, really good Dustin Johnson. But here's the problem. And this is one thing that we factor in and have to credit Jeff Shackelford, who joined us, if not last week, 2 weeks ago. Like Belmer, days run together, so my brain's fried too. But he gave us the great look ahead when it comes to kind of handicapping that final round, which is stay away from somebody who shot the lights out on Saturday to stay, remain, or shoot up in contention. And when you apply that logic, both guys at the top right now, from Brendan Todd to DJ, needed 9 under to really pull away from everybody else. And it was a hell of a performance by both of these guys today. And Brendan Todd, if you really look at where he is from a FedEx or world ranking standpoint, this shouldn't shock anybody. He's right there based on what he's been able to do at least the first couple of tournaments as a top 10 player. These things change rapidly as more tournaments go. But despite the consistency that we got from the first 2 days, shooting a 61, much like DJ, who calmed down after that first day and really found a groove to where he looked even better today than he did on Friday. And Friday was impressive. Friday was eye-opening. Friday, he kind of moved away from the whole, this is Dustin Johnson, who spent 3 months doing nothing, having Gretzky's daughter feed him grapes on the deck of a boat anchored in the Mediterranean, something along those lines. I don't know. That just popped in my head as a pretty specific image, but I'm just trying to take it as far as possible. Forgive me. But clearly he was hanging out. We know that DJ, Paulina were chilling for a while, and he wasn't playing golf, and he looked at the first 2 tournaments. Now he looks insanely good, but be warned, it's the 61. It's the low round syndrome that I'm trying to stay away from. So I can find some pretty decent value right here. Looking at, and I'm just going to look at the winner, although a top 5 finish for Bryson sits at minus 112. He is the guy that I think I would put everything on right now. Just to think about where you could get the return on top 5, top 10, and winning it. And let's just say that you threw an even 25 on each, because this is where I think you can maximize what he's been able to do. You know, you're placing 75 to win 330 for him to win the tournament. That's the cutoff, though. He's been powering this ball on every single course. His irons have been dead on. A 67 is a bad day for Bryson right now. The frame that now has 40 pounds more looks even more in tune with the swing. We know that it's just a matter of carrying and everything that he can do on this course to open up. The only difference between where Bryson is and where Brendan Todd and even Dustin Johnson are, the fact that both of those guys had insanely good rounds to kind of average out. Todd to a far lesser extent, but Dustin Johnson to have a significant lead. 5 strokes heading into Sunday is a pretty big lead. But that's where I'm saying the narrow out is. That's, I think, the first lock that I would make. If you're looking to take advantage of this in any capacity, DeChambeau at 900 is pretty damn good. That's to win it. And that's, again, the cutoff is 5 back. Top 5 will sit at minus 112 as expected. Top 10, he's not going anywhere. So that's going to be at minus 335. But that's why you counter that with those 3 tickets. Streelman is an interesting choice. I think if you really want to apply why Bryson makes sense, you can double it with Streelman. Hughes hasn't been able to recover from that 60. You see that? He's 4 under par collectively Friday and Saturday, following a 10 under par 60 to open things up. He just hasn't been able to truly recover. And what I mean by that is get anywhere near. I mean, you could even split the difference and shoot a 65 there. Those 3 strokes are the difference. That puts you 1 behind Todd heading into the final round. I'd stay away from Hughes. I don't think that his ability to simmer down allows you to place that valued bet. Now, a top 5 bet, he would have to shoot again. He'd have to shoot low 60s right now to stay in contention in the top 5, knowing that Bryson is going to come back. I mean, Hughes dropped from 2 to 4, but a lot of it was just watching people pass him. All right, I'll give you the number 1 play after looking at this big board coming up at 6:40 Eastern. We'll get some expert insight opinion coming on this huge night with this UFC card. And maybe if we feel up to it, sprinkle in something about baseball. It doesn't really deserve a lot of our attention, but it's the weekend edition of the Second Level.
The Jake Asman Show.
I just got an email from Walmart that this bicycle I've been trying to order, a specific model of bike, I want a bike, I want to just have something to do in the afternoons when I'm free after I do the show. So I'm like, oh, I'll buy a bike. It'll be fun to ride around my neighborhood. There's some bike trails nearby. This will be great. My idea to get a bike started during the quarantine period when I wanted to get some exercise because all the gyms were closed. Here was the problem. Everyone had the same idea. There were no bikes left in the city of Houston. I kid you not. I was told by someone at a local sporting goods store that there was a national bike shortage. That just changed 2 minutes ago. I received an email that the bikes are back in stock starting July 10th. I'm very excited. I'll be the Lance Armstrong of sports radio, but without the steroid stuff. And hopefully without the testicular cancer as well.
The Jake Asman Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern. Pharrell.
Coast to coast! People used to say, oh, that Pharrell guy, he's on late at night. He doesn't matter. Well, how do you like them apples? Now I'm on 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on SB Nation, and we're going to cut everybody down like trees everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's afternoons, nights, mornings, weekends. Pharrell Coast to Coast rules.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call.
Elon Musk is a brilliant guy. We'd all agree, right?
Oh, yeah.
Have we talked about what he named his kid?
No, I don't think we ever did.
How do you pronounce this? I mean,
I don't know. I can't wait till this kid's old enough and he goes, I'm changing my name to Michael. And they go, oh, yeah, what was your name before? I'm Elon Musk's kid. You tell me.
Do we have to call him the artist formerly known as Elon Musk?
Yeah,
maybe?
exactly. You might know my dad as this super brilliant billionaire scientist. I know him as a lunatic that named me an unpronounceable name.
What I want to know is when they yell at him, what are they saying?
Yeah, right. If I'm his kid, I go, until you can properly pronounce this nonsense, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. How about that? So good luck, Mom and Dad. I'm going to go smoke and drink and drive a car at 10. Bye.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Wake up call.
I remember as a little kid wanting to be an archaeologist because of Indiana Jones. I didn't realize it was boring. But
this is what you thought an archaeologist did.
I thought that's what they did. You had whips and they'd go around to ancient lands and find treasure. I didn't know they spent most of their time with a paintbrush dusting off little ounces of sand.
Or in a classroom teaching hungover college students.
That's right, exactly.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan.
So I'm looking at this, and it's not a huge surprise, but it is interesting where this story is gone now. And I don't think that this is impossible for anybody. Let me state this. Nor am I trying to make light of what the blame is trying to absolve or justify or maybe explain away, because it's a heinous allegation that should never come down on anybody, because nobody should ever partake in that. But I don't know what it is about Ben Roethlisberger that makes him seem so disingenuous. I just don't know about him specifically. It's not anybody who has stepped up in a fill-in-the-blank anonymous meeting for whatever condition or whatever situation you feel like you need support, which is fine and great. And I commend people for being able to do that. It takes a lot of courage. Whatever the situation is that has you standing up and saying, yes, I was wrong, I definitely commend. But it's gone now from Roethlisberger using this platform to kind of say, hey, I was addicted to porn and some other stuff, alcohol, to now. And again, I just don't know what it is about his demeanor, his actions when he has a camera in front of him. And we are all victims of the voyeuristic society where we don't know anybody that we talk about. And I get that. But there is something about how people come off on camera or mic or any type of platform that they have, and he just doesn't seem genuine. And then on top of it, to double down and say, well, yeah, you know, the porn addiction is also the reason why I had a 12-year-old rape allegation is absurd. You know, I don't think that it's valid for you to, anybody at this point, to blame something that is totally on you. I mean, that is a Ben Roethlisberger act. That's not him acting as a result of anything. Alcohol, drugs, porn, or any other gambling, any other vice that he wants to pile up on. And again, maybe if there was a different messenger, it would land a little softer on the ears, but there's just something about Ben himself that's very difficult to just accept as far as change or as far as anything along those lines. And that just seemed to me to just put it over the top, way over the top. Fury versus Mike, a couple of Tysons here. At Shander Shows, how you get me on Twitter, twitch.tv/Shander Show. And again, as mentioned, coming up at 6:40 Eastern time, Josh Gross is going to join us. Look ahead at any remaining action on the prelims up through the main event tonight in a huge card when it comes to UFC. But I saw this pop up just, I guess, a couple of hours ago. Tyson Fury says he was offered a chance to go toe-to-toe with Mike Tyson. But Tyson wanted all the money. So, according to Tyson Fury, he was contacted by Tyson's people, Mike Tyson's people. I guess I should say Tyson, or I should say Fury and Mike, right?
Tyson versus Tyson.
Right. So I guess we should say, to distinguish the two, we should say Fury versus Mike. Then there'll be no confusion. Right?
Right.
Okay. Have you heard this story?
No, I haven't.
All right. So according to Fury, Mike's people contacted Fury. Fury and Mike had a FaceTime. They had a Zoom call. We had a phone call like we always do. This is Fury talking. They was offering the money to Mike. They came back and offered us like peanuts completely. The amount of money offered to Tyson, $500 million, Fury said. It was like, okay, this has got to be a joke. Someone's crazy, Fury said. So nothing ever happened with it. The paycheck Tyson was hoping for, Fury was hoping for, falls 100 million, 185 million short of the 685, or maybe that's Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. How in the world is that possible where Mike Tyson was going to be offered $500 million? I'm sorry, but how much of the pay-per-view is that going to cost? You'd be paying like $300.
I'm not going to lie. Are you really interested in seeing Tyson Fury and Mike Tyson?
Nope.
No, me either.
No. And how does Mike Tyson, first off, great question. And no, the answer to, I think that from everybody speaking would be no, right? Now, here's the other thing on top of that is, how in the hell does Mike Tyson have that much leverage in a fight right now where he can command $500 million?
That's insane.
Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, these guys couldn't. McGregor versus Fury. I don't think either one of these guys could command $500 million. That's $500 million. Who's taking home that much of a paycheck when it comes to a boxing match? What's the highest purse? Now I'm intrigued. Most money won in a boxing match, right? Floyd Mayweather. All right, so this is the highest grossing matches right now. Mayweather's take in the highest grossing match in boxing, it had to be Mayweather versus McGregor. It was a stunt. It was an exhibition. And Mayweather took home $275 million, which is a farce in its own right. But you know they sold that sucker on pay-per-view around the world. Mayweather-Pacquiao was May 2015, and Mayweather took home $250. After that, you're less than $100 million, and it's Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez in 2013. Mayweather took home $80. The next guy outside of Mayweather is De La Hoya, who had to fight Mayweather in May of 2007, and Oscar took home 52. No way anybody's paying Mike Tyson $500 million. That's fake news. I'm sorry, Tyson Fury. Josh Gross, UFC next.
Jay Farner.
Hey, do you have
CEO
Josh's
of Rocket
Twitter?
Mortgage.
Yes.
Has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Is it at Yay?
Conditions. Equal housing lender.
It is, yes.
Okay.
MLS number 3030.
O'Reilly.
Get your car ready for summer at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Oil? Check. Battery? Check. Wipers? Check. And don't forget your cooling system. Right now, get Keep Long Life Universal Pre-Mixed Antifreeze and Coolant for $12.99 a gallon at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And earn double O Rewards points with your purchase. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The final season of inventory is happening now at Copperleaf. Experience the finest in traditional Western living and great outdoor recreation with your gorgeous 1 to 3 plus acre mountainside home site, priced from only $79.9. Plus, for a limited time, pay no closing costs. This spectacular mountain paradise offers pristine Rocky Mountain views, private access to the historic Shoshone River for incredible blue ribbon trout fishing, a prime location next to the entrance of Yellowstone Park for hiking, sightseeing, and nature walks, plus modern amenities including central water and sewer, underground electric, and more. During your private Copperleaf tour, you can choose to drive your own vehicle or take advantage of our safe and sanitary tour options. Call 866-935-2636 and ask how to take a live video tour of your beautiful 1 to 3 plus acre mountainside home site, priced from only $79.9 at Copperleaf. Don't wait. 866-935-2636 to take a live video tour of Copperleaf or visit copperleafwyoming.com.
Auto Accident Help Desk is a marketing agency connecting callers with attorneys. Providers pay a fee for advertising services.
I love getting my kids ready and driving them to school.
But a careless driver can change your life in an instant, and insurance companies want to settle on the cheap. Auto Accident Help Desk connects victims with powerful lawyers. They fight for you.
I called Auto Accident Help Desk and got help for my pain and suffering.
Don't let an insurance company take advantage of you. Our attorneys fight and beat big insurance every day.
Call 800-528-6859. 800-528-6859.
If you've been injured in an automobile accident in the last 6 months, you owe it to yourself to make this free call with no obligation. We're available 24/7 to help you get the money you deserve for your pain and suffering. Auto Accident Help Desk helps accident victims like you every day.
Call 800-528-6859. 800-528-6859. That's 800-528-6859.
Except for I'm getting voicemail. So that's that. Okay. Hey, Josh, how are you?
I hear you.
Hi, it's John with SB Nation Radio. You doing okay today? You ready to talk with Eitan?
This is SB Nation Radio.
At SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Shander.
I mentioned busy night tonight in the UFC. Action going on right now, which is fantastic because we don't have to talk about the same old nonsense when it comes to the NBA restarting and the Major League Baseball restarting. This is what live sports, UFC specifically, has given us. And we go out to the Progressive guest line to welcome in Josh Gross, who covers all things MMA and beyond at the MMAJA. Of course, Josh is on Twitter at @Yay_Yee. Also, we have to talk about his book as we're 2 days removed from a very important anniversary. Josh, first and foremost, Eitan Shander, SB Nation Radio. Appreciate your time tonight. Hope all is well with you and yours.
Thank you, Eitan. Same to you.
Well, let's start with your book. I just came upon this on your Twitter account, and I'm really intrigued on this. You can buy this on Amazon, I see, as well. I'm already on the link. We're 2 days removed from the 44th anniversary of a pretty big fight with Ali.
Yeah, it was one that I think a lot of people have forgotten. They don't consider sort of a highlight of his career. Of course, there were so many, but this was a unique moment in Ali's career. This was not boxing. This was a mixed rules fight. he took on the most famous Japanese professional wrestler. And you think of pro wrestling and you're like, oh, that's not real fighting. But in Japan, it was pretty close to real fighting. So it was a crazy moment in Ali's career. And at the time, it was kind of like, let's skip on to the next thing. It was 3 months after the Thrill in Manila, but more than 40 years later, really, it's taken on a legacy. And you can tell how modern mixed martial arts has been influenced by this match when you go back and look at the history.
This is like the precursor, if you will, to McGregor kind of stepping into the Mayweather, stepping out and seeing that combination of styles of fighting.
Yeah, there was actually going back even to the 1920s, Jack Dempsey and Ed Strangler Lewis. There was always this talk about boxer versus wrestler and what that might look like. And that was the thing that really captivated Ali. He kept talking about, I want to know what it's like to fight a wrestler. No wrestler can beat me. And it turned out to be kind of the precursor for these events. That night was closed circuit around the world, and the WWF at the time were the ones leading that closed circuit event. There was pro wrestling at Shea Stadium. Everything in conjunction with this crazy night that I was glad to write about.
Well, what made you think of writing it? Was it something you were thinking about for a while and you had the time to put it together? Was it something that just flashed based off something going on in your life at the time?
Well, I've been lucky enough to go to Japan and cover mixed martial arts over the course of my career. I've been to some of the biggest events in the world promoted by Pride Fighting. And one thing that's great about Tokyo, there's lots of souvenir shops if you're into pro wrestling or fighting. And so I walked in and I saw this replica poster for a closed circuit fight out in Riverside, California. And, I was like, whoa, I'm from Los Angeles. This is crazy. What is this? I knew about it, but didn't really know about it. And the story and then trying to understand more of how it came to be and what its legacy was captivating to me. And I said at some point I'll write a book. And it was the first one I did. Actually, it was released in 2016. So it's been out 4 years now.
Awesome. And it's available on Amazon. So everybody listening now can jump on and grab a copy, especially since we're so close to the anniversary. Now, you also put out, and again, Josh Gross on Twitter at @Ye_Ye, a poll that it looks like you were pretty surprised about your followers' results on tonight's main event. What shocked you so much about those results?
That it was so lopsided for Dustin Poirier. He was a tremendous fighter. But Dan Hooker's looks so good and he's so dangerous. I think the split was something like 85-15.
Yeah.
So I was expecting a little bit more 60-40, somewhere in the 50s, 40s each, but it's such a widespread. I think, Dustin Poirier has been around for a long time, been in major bouts, has beaten tremendous fighters. And I think he's a fan favorite too. A lot of people think he's like a good guy, and he is based on his actions, a lot of charity work that he's done. So the fans favor Dustin Poirier, but I think the fight will be a lot closer than an 85-15 fight for sure.
Well, it is interesting when you look at some of these odds, and I'm here in PA, so I'm looking at DraftKings, and while Poirier is at minus 235, Hooker is at plus 185. So he's still below that magic number of looking at playable value here, to where at plus 185, that's not a reach by any means. It's an upset, but it's not a major one based on where his odds are, I think, more than his opponent.
Yeah, I think Dustin Hooker has a great chance in this fight. If they're both on, if they're both sharp, then Dustin Poirier probably is savvy and technical and smart enough to find ways to hurt Hooker and win the fight. But there's no question in my mind, Hooker's taller, longer, dangerous, throws assortment of weapons, really crafty and will submit you on the ground. And he's really a bulldog, man. So I don't know about upsets or where it goes with the odds and everything, but I think Dustin Poirier has his hands full. And if Dan Hooker wins this fight, I will not be shocked in the slightest.
I'm curious, just as far as a big picture question is concerned, about how the sport has been handling the virus and continuing to put on live events. We see it around everywhere. Nobody is safe from it. PGA has golfers withdrawing every day. We've seen it even touch the UFC. But in your opinion, from kind of a big picture standpoint, Josh, how has Dana White and the UFC been handling COVID-19 while still being able, to put on live events?
I think you have to say that they've done a really good job. There were some bumps in the road early on. They were looking for places to host fights, and they got in some trouble in terms of the going off onto a Native American reservation in California, and that cost them, some really heartache, because they had to deal now with the governor of California and the Senator Dianne Feinstein saying, "Hey, no, we don't want this here." It was the height of, I think, the April peak, and people were very tense around it. But beyond that,
they've managed a way to put on fights, deliver on the contracts that they have with fighters. They haven't laid off anybody. They haven't. No one employed by the UFC has been let go. So I think you have to commend them for the work that they've done. Overall, from a health perspective, they've been pretty fortunate. That first card that they had in Jacksonville, a fighter tested positive, plus his corner. You've had a few of those incidents along the way. But, they've done a better job of monitoring as they've gone along. And I think now they switch to Abu Dhabi that's coming up next month. I think the protocols for the testing of the fighters has gotten even stricter. So far, so good for the UFC.
Do you think that there's any chance, or is it becoming as airtight of a sealant as possible? And I know that's not 100% possible, but still to the point where you move it to Abu Dhabi, you have your fight island, and you're able to control it much like a bubble, where it won't now be an excuse for somebody to pull out, as big of a name as we can think of, saying, "No, I don't feel safe." It's almost as if it's become as close to foolproof as we can in this kind of crazy time.
Yeah, I have a hard time imagining any of the fighters on the roster saying, "No, I don't feel safe at this point." Enough fights have happened. They all want to get in there and compete. I don't think there is a foolproof bubble. You're having fighters fly in from different regions of the world. The UFC is having 4 hubs around the world and flying charter into Abu Dhabi. So the fighters, before getting on their charter flight, have to be tested 48 hours in advance. And that's what I'm saying. So they've added to the protocols. It seems like they've taken the necessary steps again, but this is a situation where no one can really pretend that they have any control over it. And we may run into some really nasty situations because of this virus. So far, the UFC, as I said, they've done what they've needed to do. They've been fortunate in the results so far. But I don't think anything is a given, especially when you're flying in fighters from around the world to a location like they're doing. You just never know.
Josh Gross joining us at Ye_Ye on Twitter. Outside of the main event, the card we spoke about on the the main event on the main card, what other fight has jumped out to you for any reason? If it's just the best entertainment value or maybe some pretty good upset value?
Well, I think the card really hinges on that main event. A fight that I'm looking at, just in terms of my interest, I think you're looking at Brendan Allen and Kyle Dukakis. These are 2 middleweights, younger middleweights on the UFC roster, but both look pretty good and talented. So that's a fight I'm looking at. I'm not sure who I'd favor one way or another. But as always with these UFC cards, like the action is sort of, it just comes, right? It's hard. It's like the amount of UFC fights that you can think of that really stunk along the way, have a few and far between relative to the ones that actually deliver. And I think everything builds up to this pay-per-view quality main event because it really is a good fight between Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker.
Well, let me bring you back to the Allen Dawkins fight because I'm curious to match up where I'm looking at it from completely 2 feet of the outside, and I see the odds that say that, Allen is a minus 300 favorite, Dawkins at plus 250. But when you were explaining it, and it kind of looks like there's a little more to this, so that's why I defer to you and ask you what makes it a closer fight than a lot of times they get these wrong, what the odds would indicate just from a bird's eye view.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend know more than the odds makers on this, but I think anytime you're talking about a young fighter coming in undefeated like Dukakis is, that carries some weight. He's coming from lower level promotions that are actually really turn out good prospects along the way. He's a veteran of the Dana White Contender Series where he won on. So he just seems like, making his 9th fight. We're starting to see younger fighters come into the UFC and more is demanded of them. From what I'm hearing and what I'm gathering about him, he's got some potential there to make a little run in this division. So obviously first test in the UFC, that's my intrigue.
Well, see, there are upsets happen all the time, Josh, right? So the odds could say one thing, but when you have the insight, that's where you kind of apply it and maybe get the inside track and think, all right, plus 250, some pretty good value.
It could be, but like you said, I mean, a lot of times, once in a while you have a really good feeling on a fight. The higher profile fights where you've seen them compete at the elite level for a while, you really can sort of handicap, at least in my perspective. The lower level, and I'm talking about like entry level UFC fighters or mid-tier UFC fighters with not a lot of octagon time. It's kind of hit and miss. You don't know where the prospect's coming from, what's going on. And obviously at the times we live in right now, how did the training go? Those are answers I don't have on those questions. And so maybe someone else is more aware of that in this particular fight or not. I'm not saying Dukakis is the pick of the night or anything. I just think it's a fight that I'm looking at more than others on the card.
What's the fight right now after tonight that you have circled on your calendar?
Well, no question. I think that Fight Island, there's a trio of title fights, and to me, the main event is the one that I have to have circled, and that's Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. I think Kamaru Usman is a fantastic welterweight champion in the UFC, and Burns has been on such a roll. There's intrigue on both of them because they basically have been training out of the same camp since 2013. So this is the first time that Usman is leaving the camp. The trainer that trained both of them is not involved. So there's a lot of variables here. But I just think two bulls in there, two confident fighters. And that's the one that stands out to me. And then if I can just throw one more in,
Please.
I think the rematch between Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. That should stack up to be very interesting. Does Holloway have the ability to find answers against Volkanovski? That's what I'm really curious about.
Josh, really appreciate this tonight. And thank you for the time, the insight, all the best. Again, at @Ye_Ye on Twitter. And the book, Ali versus Inoki's out. It's been out for a bit, but you can buy it anywhere now. Amazon.com is the best place. The pinned tweet is up again at @Ye_Ye. Josh, thanks for the time, the insight, and be safe.
Thank you very much. You too.
All right, that's Josh Gross joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. Get us here at Shander Show on Twitter. Something popped up. I was part of a poll that just came up on Twitter, and I had to shut it down. Not shut the poll down, meaning stop the poll, because I was used without anybody telling me or alerting me. There was no violation in that regard that had the poll shutting down that way. I meant like I answered, and that's it. Me and 3 other names thrown into a blender of who people believe to be the better golfer. And normally I wouldn't even talk about this or me in a positive light when it comes to swinging sticks, but I had a pretty decent day on a ridiculously hard course, so I had to kind of check them. All right, I'll get to that before we wrap the hour next. It's the weekend edition of the Second Level.
Into the night.
Ladies and be right back.
Yeah, he was
no
great,
matter
man.
what they're paying him at TNT,
it's not enough.
Ain't enough. The great Charles Barkley. Chuck, you said it earlier. Shaq said it. They shouldn't bother to even finish this season. Do you still believe it? I know you said that they are going to play. Do you still believe that it's not worth playing?
Listen, I'm 100% sure they're going to play, just from what I'm hearing from my people, but I just don't know how it's going to be safe. I really don't. I would hate for something bad to happen, and I would hate to see one of the stars get hurt and they lose in the first round or second round of the playoffs to an inferior team. Let me tell you something. You can have 100 players on a team in the NBA. If you lose Giannis, LeBron, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, it don't matter about those other 99. That's the thing that scares me. If Giannis gets sick and has to miss the first round of the playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks are not going to win. They're out. That wouldn't be fair at all.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Game time decision.
What's up, everybody? I am Gabriel Morency, inviting you to join me and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart weekdays at 6 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. No games, no problem. The countdown is on. Sports will be back. There are games being played right now in China. We've got German soccer. If there's a line for it, we're going to break it down right here. Weekdays, 6 o'clock, SB Nation Radio. Be here.
Game time decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. The Second Level. The Second Level.
I'm trying to be more conscious about what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, and cutting back beer. And so I tried something 2 weeks ago, and ever since, it's all I drink. Do you want to guess what it is first before I explain it to you? Because it's something that...
Sorry, I had to run to the restroom.
Something where people are...
He was good, huh?
Club. Absolutely right. A lemon lime. I pound those things. Think about it. You're out in the hot sun. You're walking 18 and you're drinking cold carbonated seltzer. I have to now be secretive in the drink that I'm ordering because I don't want to be publicly shamed at the golf course for just walking around with 6 or 7 White Claws. Now, does that make me immediately one of these crazy girls that you see on video in the Hamptons? Oh my God, my White Claw. Are you judging me?
Hey, what you thinking for the second hour of tweets?
Eastern. The Jake Asman Show.
Former MLB All-Star, a two-time World Series champion, and a dad of 8, the great Johnny Damon joining us now. You were in the movie Fever Pitch, but there's a very funny line in the movie where a fan yells out that Johnny Damon has the nicest rear end in the league.
People still ask me about my rear end, and it's still pretty good, guys. Just ask my wife. I mean, we have 8 kids.
The Jake Asman Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern. This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Tom.
So I was placed in this poll, unbeknownst to me, of course, by a local channel that I work for here in Philadelphia. I do a sports betting show Monday through Wednesday, locally in Philly, evening, on top of the second level, 11 to 1 Eastern time right here on the network. The poll question was very simple. Who's the better golfer? Myself, obviously thrown in there. 2 other people that I work with that I respect a lot, Joe and John, and the program director who also hosts the afternoon drive show in Sean. Sean won it, and I don't know, maybe he's been talking up his game a bunch and people have been swayed. Sean won at 34.6%. John snuck in at 26.9%. I finish at 23.1%. And Joe's in the back at 15 point. I don't know why. I have no idea. Like, there's nothing that I've heard from either Joe nor John that would indicate they're good or bad golfers. So I don't know what's happened or what this centered around. I just saw that I was in a poll. This is actually June 25th, so it tells you how much I've been on Twitter over the past 2 days. It's therapeutic to take some time off. But my boss wins it, locally, of course, wins it. And I don't know what to say there. I can't take any shots, nor would I. That would put me in a pretty awkward situation. There's something about him that I could guess that he is a good golfer, that he gets off the tee really well, and maybe blows up every now and again, but I could see him getting off the tee well. So I never do this. Anytime I ever talk about me playing golf, it's always as far as the ongoing frustration that is trying to play this game. But I'm at a club, and there are 3 sets of 9. The first 2 join together to make 18, and then there's a third or really second course that's just a 9. That second course is easier, significantly easier than the top 2, but it's still a pretty difficult course when you look at it around here. So today was like a huge milestone because I put a 43 down. So I had to remind everybody out there on this poll that I don't know how much they've been poisoning my name and what's been discussed about me on Friday's show, but all of that is lies. We need a new poll. That's what it is.
Hey, real quick, what you got for the tweet for the second hour? Besides the guest.
Hey, everybody.
Let's
RJ
do-
Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com, your home for the best Dallas Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blogging the Boys podcast feed has daily, that's right, daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows,
like you just
multiple
put
analysts,
NFL
including a
FA,
Super
like
Bowl
free
winner,
agency
2-time Super Bowl
hangover,
champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation.
TV's
and we
top
wanna make
10,
sure you are
and
as
then
well.
our guest.
We're available on Apple, Spotify,
All right,
wherever
I'll be
else
right
you
back.
get your podcast.
Yes, sir.
So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blogging the Boys podcast feed today.
Into the night.
Here with Bill Sims into the night. All right, Bill. Where's the 30
Yeah,
for
there
30
should
on
be.
Bill Sims and Bill Parcells
No, the whole
and the
Parcells
Giants?
era with the Giants would be
Exactly.
fascinating.
How can that not be a 30 for 30, Bill?
Well, one, it's a new world or an old world back then, so there's not video much of anything, and especially our interactions during practice. So his favorite, I always say this, played under Bill Parcells for 8 years. Of course, we had great success. And when he retired, I had to come home and check my birth certificate to see if my first name began with a P or an F. Because for 8 years, I was F and Sims. F and Sims. It never ended.
Well, you can spell Phil with an F, depending.
Well, I guess you can. Yeah. One of my teammates once said, you should just write FS, so like Lawrence Taylor does LT. And I go, what? Excuse me, what'd you say? He goes, FS. I said, I thought I heard you say that.
Into the night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays, weeknights at 10 Eastern. Pharrell,
The Cowboys want to make Dak the second highest paid quarterback in the league. Dak wants to make the most money. Essentially, every guy in the league that's a quarterback's making somewhere between 25 and 35 million. Aren't they all making fat money? And aren't they all the eventual demise? These contracts with quarterbacks, the demise of football teams. When you have to pay one guy that much money, it breaks up the team.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call! The Carolina Panthers held a poll on Twitter asking the fans who the GOAT of the franchise has been.
And they said...
You ready for the choices?
Yeah.
Julius Peppers.
Steve Smith.
Luke Kuechly. That's it. I'm done.
That's it? Really?
Are you noticing a glaring omission?
I know, right? Really?
Well, I think the only MVP they've ever had.
I know. A guy who's still looking for a job.
Number 1 overall pick who actually lived up to the hype.
He was the franchise face. Cam Newton was 15-1 MVP, led them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, not good enough to make their GOAT list. I'm not going to take anything away from Julius Peppers, Steve Smith, Luke Kuechly. All fine players.
He's at least put Cam Newton in a poll of the greatest players of the franchise history. Come on, Carolina. Stop it.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. The Jake Asman Show.
I woke up optimistic. I woke up excited. I was going to make bacon for the first time in my life. Recently, during my furlough, I learned how to scramble eggs. Now, you might laugh at me. Just learned how to scramble eggs? Yes, I was a late bloomer on the eggs. But I know how to do it at an elite level now. So every morning as I get up and prep for this show, I make some scrambled eggs. Well, I was going to make bacon. The eggs were great. Eggs were done. I put the bacon on the pan. I'm like, I got some time. I'll play around. I'll make some bacon. Then I said to myself, you know what? Let me go and get dressed for work. I'll eat the bacon, then I'll go. I had totally forgotten that I left the bacon on the frying pan. I come back and I go, oh my God. My apartment smells like it's on fire. Not only was this bacon burnt, it was not edible. It was absolutely decimated. And I dropped the ball. I failed.
The Jake Asman Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern. The second level.
That stuff got you excited, man. Think about it. This is the equivalent of music that pumps you up before a football or basketball or hockey game. Remember when theme songs for shows actually got you fired up? That theme music alone, forget what you're watching on television, but the theme song alone, this is firing you up.
The second level. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. The second level.
That stuff got you excited, man. Think about it. This is the equivalent of music that pumps you up before a football or basketball or hockey game. Remember when theme songs for shows actually got you fired up? That theme music alone, forget what you're watching on television, but the theme song alone, this is firing you up.
The second level. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near.
Hey, real quick, I'm dumb. You said NFL free agency hangover and the guest, and then something about shows.
Oh, yeah, TV top 10. How about that?
TV top 10. Okay,
Yeah.
As soon as you walked away, I went, oh, shit.
No, that's
RocketMortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
This is SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios.
Mike's hot.
Gander.
God, we're jammed here this second hour. Jam. Of course, we probably won't even stick to the script. It's usually what happens here. And that's something that's consistent Monday through Monday. It's not like Monday through Friday, we are on this very strict schedule and follow everything by the second. And then I just torture John Belmer on the weekends. And,
I'm sure that's consistent with everything you do.
Yes. Well, you know why? Is because so much of, I feel like this, or let me start from where I stand. And look, this is the perfect time to talk about this because you've been doing this long enough and you've been working at a high level here on the network long enough. And I've been doing this, thankfully, long enough as well. Maybe a little bit longer. That's fine. I'm a little bit older. But let me start with me first. I grew up listening to sports talk radio. I was just a junkie for it. And yeah, I had music, and just like everybody else was locked into Eric B. and Rakim and Public Enemy, I'm sure, right? Like everybody else on the planet. But no, I had my selections of music that I would listen to. But when it came to studying, when it came to having something on in the background, or trips, car rides, for example, anything that I could incorporate the radio with, I never listened to music on the radio. I always listened to sports talk. Now, where I grew up, initially, New York City, Southern Connecticut. So the big station was The Fan, was 660. And the big show was Chris and Mike, Russo and Fred Sessa, Mike and the Mad Dog. Crazy how small this world is. I got a chance to work for and with Dog on his Sirius channel for years, and I'm grateful for that time every day. But growing up as a kid, it's all I listened to. So I listened to Sid Rosenberg and Jody McDonald yell at each other before I listened to Chris and Francesa take over the next slot and yell at each other. And so much of that, there was organic talk. And when I moved to Philly, Angelo Cataldi and others, it's just organic stuff would pop up. And I'll tell you, there's one guy, we'll continue this conversation. There's one guy who you actually hear now, Monday through Friday on this network, who is the king at working off the off script.
At O'Reilly Auto Parts, we'll help make your auto repair, maintenance, and restoration projects.
We're not going to do anything you tweeted.
Really, though. I mean, I thought you were the king of off script, man.
I'm telling you, man.
First time.
There are
Now,
guys who have
for
been
a
doing
limited
this as long
time,
as I'm
get
alive.
15% off a set of
Yeah.
brake vest pads and
Here's what I am.
rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm a great thief.
Every day.
A great thief.
Think of it. Right? Like,
Auto parts. Yeah, but just make it your own.
well, yeah, that's exactly what I do. But I love this. I'm an addict for sports talk radio, so I consume it. You know what I mean?
I don't think anybody in the right mind would do it 7 days a week if they weren't an addict
Right. But
for it.
I still listen.
Back into the game.
Yeah.
I'm listening all the time. I'm listening to, I'm golfing and I have a Bluetooth on and I'm listening to Asman Show. You know, I'm walking the dog and I'm listening to Peralta or something local here.
Yeah.
But
Maine to
my point of it is that-
321 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning
Sorry, I'm
Nugenix,
trying to eat
the
real
number
quick.
one selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting
that-
formula is powered by Testofen.
It's kinda like-
key ingredient clinically researched.
seen
to
it
help
done
a man feel
multiple ways,
stronger,
right?
Leaner, more energetic,
Yeah.
and
But-
more passionate.
And
The people that I've enjoyed listening to and then working
Nugenix
with
samples
the
are not
most
available in stores. To
are
get your
always the ones
complimentary
who
bottle. Text
move
Maine to
and
321
just
321.
create things,
That's
maybe not even on
MAIN to
purpose, but things
321.
happen
Yeah.
organically.
For sure. It's like what is it called? Why am I blanking out on that word right now? Improv. It's like improv, but it's sports radio improv.
You're getting out of
Yeah,
without
and
the comedy.
a lot
You're
of that
just
comes
going.
with
pure compliance.
not
Timeshare
knowing
compliance
ahead of
can
time that
legally
you're going to bring up a
terminate.
conversation. But when you
Right.
hear it, it's like, wait, let's stop
Let's
and push
go
this.
for it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Ending your payments for
Exactly.
thousands. So whether you're a victim of a high-pressure dishonest sales agent, or you were misled with what you were buying, or you overpaid and they underdelivered, call Timeshare Compliance now for a free consultation. With one simple call, the trusted professionals at Timeshare Compliance can legally rip up your timeshare agreement and help rip up your financial suffering. You could save thousands. Call now before another payment is due. Timeshare Compliance is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Call 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. Besthotelrates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to besthotelrates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. Besthotelrates.com. It's in the name. Besthotelrates.com.
This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's
Mike's out.
So how did this even come up? Because I think I mentioned that we'll do our best to stay on script, right? And then you jumped in and said something, and it just sparked conversation.
Went off script.
But what did you say? Do you remember?
I just said I bet you that way your whole life. Like
Oh,
everything
right,
you do
right.
in life.
Yes, which I am. I do try to work off script as much as possible and kind of wait. You mentioned like improv in the break, and if you're following along on the stream, you can hear John. Can we get you up? Culver won't let me show his face, but we can get you up now. If you ever have a webcam and you put a cam in there, you can connect via the stream. So whenever you and I have a conversation, you can be up there alongside me so people can see you talking as well.
Okay. I mean, I don't mind doing that. I don't have
Okay.
a webcam yet, but I'd have to.
Well,
have to
I'll
acquire
send you one. How about that?
No, I can get my own.
Okay. I mean, I have like
I
10.
appreciate it. Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
I
then,
have. Yeah, I'm not going to go buy it. I've already
Oh.
bought it.
Well, then send it my way.
Okay. One time, I tell you what, tonight when you send the files, just send me your address to the studio and I'll attention it to you and make sure that Culver or Asman doesn't hover over the mailroom and just open up random packages. So I don't make sure it goes directly to you. But yes, moving forward, once you get that cam up, you can then be a part of the visual as well. So when we have conversations like now, people that are watching can see you as you talk. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. You can wear whatever you want and have fun with it. Culver's like, nobody wants to see me. Dude, it's just about having somebody on there.
Right. I don't think anybody wants to see me either, but hey.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd
I
be
know.
surprised.
Our local station has that for the producers, and I think
See?
it's kind of cool. I think people enjoy it.
I agree with you. And look, this will be just through here. We're not putting any extra pressure on the network or Craig or anybody else. We're just saying, for the purposes of this show, I can't even get it done with the producer during the week. I'm thankful that you'll do it.
I mean, I may run some of your listeners away. With
No. If you haven't already, then trust me, your face won't do it. Here's the thing. So you bring that up, and it's a very interesting observation because I am like that where I just let stuff come to me the most part, just try and handle it. It's kind of like stuff is flying at you and you either deflect it, you grab it, you do whatever you want. And the radio shows seem to play out that way. And I mentioned that growing up, I've just listened to this form of radio, talk radio specifically, as long as I can remember. I remember being this is probably 6th, 7th. I mean, we're talking probably like 7th or 8th grade at the time, maybe even 9th grade at the time, where I would have my study halls, football players at this first school I was at in Connecticut at the time. We would be able to have our study hall with basically in this big office where our football coaches were. So a lot of times you could fit 6 or 7 people in there comfortably at desks, no social distancing clearly at the time, but you could fit people in there. And one of our coaches, usually our head coach, was in there working as well. So you actually got work done. And it was a good way to kind of motivate us, knowing that we weren't just going to skate through stuff. And the coach liked it because he can keep an eye on us. And then I say us because it wasn't just me causing trouble. Other people were as well. But the point being, when we were in there, it wasn't Mozart or Chuck D or Metallica blasting. He had Mike and the Mad Dog. He had Mac and Sid, Jody McDonald and Sid Rosenberg. So I grew up as a kid listening to this, and then on car ride, let's listen. And I'm telling you, it didn't matter where we were. I would go on a trip with my mom. I would travel anywhere I would travel. and I'm scanning the radio. A lot of times I would scan the AM radio, and I'm sure that doesn't surprise someone like John or anybody who's following along and has been listening to me for a while. But yeah, we're talking about 13, 14 years old, and I'm scanning the AM radio on a trip to the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. And we're around Bend, Oregon, and I'm trying to find what I can hear as any type of sports talk. And a lot of times it was national because you really only had a couple of networks at the time, and it was just stations were small and they were picking up national. So fast forward to kind of where I am now, and I was telling John in the break, I'm really just a good thief, where I've had such a fortunate amount of time to do this job and work with some legends and listen in the same market and work with some really big names. So when you talk about people specifically in sports talk radio that just come in and go, and there's no real script and there's no plan, and even if they have a plan, it's just completely derailed. There are a bunch of names around really where I've been, from New York to Philly, and some national stuff back here, and including New York. And let's start here. I mean, if I feel like Ron and Tony do that every morning, where there's some sort of plan and it's just a comical misdirection, and maybe it's a derailment or maybe it's just working off. But when you hear Tony Bruno, and he's on in the evenings now, Monday through Friday here on the network, he was the first, and this is only maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, is when I first started working with Tony at the same spot here in Philadelphia. But I was amazed. Tony would walk in, and I would fill in every now and again with his current co-host and Harry Mays, and they were doing a 2-hour show. And Harry would be off a couple of days every now and again, and I'd fill in for Harry and work with Tony. And I would be doing a show before that. Basically, the slot was 10 to noon, Harry Mays and Brian Baldinger, and then from noon to 2, Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. So Bruno would come in and lead the final 2, and Harry would lead the first 2 with Baldy. So that was awesome. I would fill in for Harry, and I'd get these 2 shows, and you just sit there and let Baldy go. He is fantastic. Amazing on the radio. The Baldy breakdowns are fantastic. He was doing those early on when I was working with him weekly here in Philly before that show got blown up. Baldy is awesome. So once that show ended, boom, door kicks open, and here comes Tony Bruno. And I barely get, because we had 90 seconds for a top of the hour update. It was a tight turnaround, man. 90 seconds in, and then boom, here comes Bruno. And the beauty of it is Harry, forget me filling in, because I remember after the first day, I texted Harry and I said, what the hell is going on? Do you have any idea what's coming? It's like a whirlwind. And he said, nope, it's every single day. Laughing, of course, because that's the genius of Tony Bruno and others that I've been able to work with and for. And I mentioned, if it's Sid, if it's Russo, and so much comes organically. Cataldi here in Philadelphia, who has a script, because I've seen the script. It's like a notepad worth of stuff. And while he does go back to it, so much of the genius of his morning show is working off script. I had a chance to be a producer, fill-in, technical, and as well as exec, depending on who was off, for Michael Smerconish, who is now doing stuff for CNN, and he has his national radio show on Sirius. And he had a script and he had a plan, and a conversation would come up with one of his producers. Somebody would call and say something, and next thing you know, they would take. Now, again, it was a tight national show and they stuck to a script, but even still, in like a 5 to 6 minutes, it shows how disciplined he was. He was able to venture off and come back to it. And that's, again, you're talking about the difference of you and me on the golf course versus a PGA professional. Bruno, though, he just stands alone. And I suggest you listen to the show if you are a fan of talk radio, sports talk radio secondary. A lot of these people that I worked with and from, I just picked. I said, wow, I really like what he does. Smerconish does this. Cataldi does this. Russo does this. Tony does this. And I just stole. And I just kind of turned it around. And the one consistent thing is it doesn't matter if it's 4 hours or if it's 8 minutes, but all of them consistently, every single time they crack the mic, are genius when it comes to working off something in front of them happens. You'll see it a lot with stand-up comedians, right? Who'll work the crowd. And again, they control it like we control the show. Hosts are in control. We're driving this show and you're along and we're grateful for your time. And it's a similar interaction that you find with stand-up comedians who are really good at working the room because they have some stuff built in, but they also can react really well to things thrown at them. So I think over time, it was just taking stuff and applying to it. And I'll leave you with this. We'll wrap up on this thing in a minute. But going back to Tony, and it hasn't changed. And it's just, I was on his show on Friday, and I want to replay that hit on Sunday because it's on this network. If you missed it Friday night, then I want to just replay the 15 minutes or so I spent with Tony and Harry and Robin. But it's a testament to how great Tony is to come in and just fly. And I'm telling you, for those 2 hours, it flew by as fast as humanly possible. And I couldn't tell you what we did, but I could tell you it was entertaining, and I could tell you that people were interacting, and I can tell you that I walked away with a smile. Now, that's the best combination for me is you walk away with a smile and you look and think, man, that was 2 hours. That was 3 hours. That was 4 hours. That felt like nothing. There's an opposite effect to it if it's like, wow, we're only sitting here an hour or two. So that's the long answer to kind of my DNA, John, in radio as to why I kind of have this approach and why it may seem like on the surface I'm so susceptible to a derailment. Culver will tell you, look, it's easy to derail him. But I think, Ron, and you do it as well, because I work with both of you. Jack pops in for, an hour or so each weekend, where if there's something interesting, if there's something that's relevant and then compelling that we can make, even if it's like a half-molded piece of clay that you lob out in 30 seconds or 8 seconds, right? So hold on a second. That's actually a pretty interesting point. Let's see what we can do with that. And it could be about anything. It could be about food. It could be about sports. Well, for you, it's probably going to have to be about sports, right?
Yeah. No, there's not a whole lot of food, movies, TV. No, it's going to have to be about sports.
Okay. I'm just curious. Did you watch any PGA today?
Yeah, from in here in the studio a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's going on or the leaderboard or anything, but I've been watching it. Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with this UFC fights going on too.
Yeah. I'm just letting you know, man. It's basically about everything we see, I try and take, but I don't want to rip off, if that makes sense, because so much.
But you do a really good job of making the show very uniquely you.
Well, I try, man, and I know that. Here's the thing. I know that people don't want to be hit over the head for 3 hours or 2 hours or 30 minutes in a row. So, there are times in which we bring up serious stuff and I try and do my best to give you my rawest emotion, and I talk loud. God knows my fiance here in the house will let you know, and anybody else who's familiar with me when, we start talking. But I also at the same time recognize that there should be some balance, right? Because otherwise it's just, man, this guy is hitting me over the head again and again and again. And I think the balance, this is where the derailment really comes in. The balance plays out where you do get organic conversation. So we can balance what's happening with Bubba Wallace and Major League Baseball and the PGA Tour and this big card tonight in the UFC with something you randomly bring up about television, or I sneak in, right, about television, something along those lines. That's where I think the organic conversation truly comes into play more so than anything else. All right, at Shander Show, so you get me on Twitter. You're at Johnny Two Jobs, right?
I actually changed it.
Look at you.
Since I'm no longer with the second job, it is now Third Coast Johnny.
Okay.
Third Coast Johnny, 3RD Coast Johnny, because you got the East Coast, the West Coast, and then you got us down here, the Third Coast.
Okay. Now I have a request
from
a listener to forward something to you. So I say this because somebody actually reached out via my website, AtonShander.com. Nice dust the cobwebs off that sucker.
Oh, you have a AtonShander.com. I didn't know that.
That's
cool.
Yeah. Every now and again, you have to do something. All right, at Shander Show, again, what is it? Because you're going to have to text me this. All right, just text me it.
I will, at Third Coast Johnny.
Twitch.tv/Shander Show. We're going to talk some golf with Eric Patterson coming up 7:40 Eastern. Covers all things golf for The Score. And try and get some true value. I give you my nonsensical value from afar, but Eric's going to give us some real value. And speaking of organic and derailment and balance with getting hit over the head with real life sports and COVID, we'll try and do that, at least stay on some script next here on the weekend edition of The Second Level.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
Colin Kaepernick lost
man,
his
trying to be
job
different,
because
Yeah, no, heck yeah. No, crap, man. What is going on?
of Colin Kaepernick in a career.
I think I'm going to have to restart this program.
Understood what he was doing.
I put the interview in for the interview of the week.
8:40?
Yeah, for the next hour.
Right.
But I put it in, and now I'm trying to go grab it to put it on my page, and it literally is giving me stuff from 2017. I think this shit is glitching.
Whoa.
It's producers that haven't even worked here for years, and I can't update it to go back
Pump.
to now. What the hell is going on?
Do you listen or do you kick them out because you kicked out Colin Kaepernick?
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Into the night.
You think LeBron, if he wins the title on October 12th, is going to be ready to go back to training camp less than a month later?
No.
And then start the season on December 1st? Hell no.
No.
Hey, LeBron, you just won another championship. What are you going to do? I ain't doing nothing. I got to be back in work in 3 weeks.
Right.
I can't even go to Disney World. I've been here since frickin' July.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Into the Night.
Here with my man Kevin Harlan. So what's your favorite organic thing that you've ever done, whether it's an NBA or an NFL game or any other sport?
Well, they've all been organic. I like to say that whenever they've happened, you're so focused that it does happen organically. Now, listen, wrestling with my kids or playing
Oh, thank God. That was close. Okay.
these things, that actually I stole from a James Bond movie, Dr. No. So when I heard that line, I would use it when I was playing against our son, Nerf football or Nerf basketball, in his room when he was like a little guy. When he was like 2 and 3 years old, he goes, I have no regard for human life. And I would slam the Nerf ball over his head. So when LeBron did that, for whatever reason, in that moment, it just kind of popped into my head, and I used the call.
Into the Night with Tony Bruno and Harry Mays. Weeknights at 10 Eastern. Pharrell.
I like hearing the Bundesliga players chirping and the coaches yelling, even though I can't understand a word they're saying in German. I took 1 year of German in high school, and it didn't work out so well for me, the whole German thing. I didn't do well with their language. But I can say, Guten Tag, bitte schön, auf Wiedersehen.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. This is SB.
That was almost a disaster.
We're good.
Yes.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios.
Mike's hot.
So I was bouncing back and forth with some new TV and old TV. And I must say, I really do like this show. We were talking about it during the week. I guarantee you that you've never seen an episode of Mike and Molly, right?
Yes, I have. I actually like Mike and Molly.
Look
yeah.
at this. Now, we need some sort of sounder. You and I imagine that we'll be working together, even if it's for an hour a week. All right. I don't care. But we need some sort of like eureka, right? We need some sort of sounder like that to signify how rare and special of a moment. What is the sound that everybody went nuts? Do you remember? And again, this is now layers of derailment here, but welcome to the program. Do you remember that everybody went crazy on Pee-wee's Playhouse when they said the word of the day?
No.
Okay, so that's what we need. And it's not going to happen right this second. We'll continue with Mike and Molly. But what we need is something like that, where you just play the clip of Pee Wee and everybody else on Pee Wee's Playhouse going crazy. Like,
is it Playhouse or Funhouse?
I thought it was Playhouse. Is it Playhouse? Pee Wee's Playhouse is the first one. Maybe Fun. Yeah, Pee Wee's Playhouse is the first one. Is Funhouse like a redo?
I don't know. I tried to type in Pee Wee's Playhouse, and Funhouse was the only thing that came up.
No, I'm looking at Pee Wee's Playhouse, and it was canceled in April of, or technically final episode was November 17th in 1990. It ran for about 4.5 years. So no, this is Pee Wee's Playhouse. Pee Wee's Playhouse theme song, Pee Wee's Playhouse ending theme. It's all Pee Wee's Playhouse. Pee Wee's Funhouse is the Bobo, man. That's the poor man's. What's going on here? Somebody infringing? What comes up for Pee Wee's Funhouse? See, no, it's Pee Wee's Playhouse. Even the movie is Pee Wee's Playhouse. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, that's the whole point of the audio that we would need to signify such a special moment that you and I can now bond over something non-sports on television, which is rare, right?
Yeah, it's very rare.
Okay, so let's start with forget me, nobody cares about me when it comes to something as abstract as a television show, because now you come in with way more. Here's the thing. You come in with a less jaded pair of eyeballs, because I feel like I've watched a lot more crap on TV just because of the sheer amount of stuff I've watched on TV. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that for sure makes sense.
Okay, so you don't watch as much non-sports on TV. So you and I both are jaded when it comes to watching sports, but when it comes to watching dramas or sitcoms or rom-coms or horror or anything else, I feel like you don't watch a lot. And is that a fair representation? Because
that's 100% fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing. Honestly, I think that you come into, see, this is what I'm curious about. What did you think of Mike and Molly, and how many episodes did you watch?
No, I like Mike and Molly. So the thing about me is, you won't, if it's an HBO show specifically, or a Netflix special, or a show that you have to watch on these other streaming platforms, you're probably not going to have me watching it. But when I spend time with my dad, who's not a sports person, he's usually sitting in the living room watching a lot of these shows, like Mike and Molly, the CBS shows.
Got it.
So I've seen some of those, and I actually really enjoyed Mike and Molly.
Okay, so it's probably easier to pick up on sitcoms where you don't need to be watching week in and week out. If you pop in and he's watching, season 3, episode 2 of The Sopranos, and you haven't seen the last 3 episodes, you're probably looking like, what's going on here?
He's not going to be watching The Sopranos.
Okay,
no.
But whatever the equivalent is of a drama where you kind of need to be watching, right, week to week. But here's the thing. I can't believe how funny, and I brought this up earlier this week, but I'm so happy that you've seen it as well. I can't believe how funny everybody else is around the 2 stars. And Mike and Molly are funny, don't get me wrong, and they definitely stir the pot. But it reminds me a lot in the same dynamic, not as far as content is concerned, but the same dynamic of, we never really turned on Seinfeld to watch Seinfeld. We turned on Seinfeld to watch the 3 people in his life have the most ridiculous, crazy stories that somehow impacted Jerry and the home base, which was the apartment. But Seinfeld, when you go back and look at it, yeah, it's genius, but Seinfeld's not a great actor, and he even admitted it because it's the truth, and that's what makes the show so great. Now, the 2 stars, I think, are good and they're strong, but everybody around, the entire supporting cast, from Mike's side to Molly's side, is hilarious, and they dominate whenever they're on the screen. Even when they try to be supportive and they kind of move the comedic beat along, they just stand out. That was, John, that was my favorite part of the show, and I'm still watching, like, maybe 75% full, so I still need to, or through, so I still need to finish a little bit more. But that's my favorite part, I think, element of the show, is just how strong everybody is, the supporting cast. Like, that's all I want to see. I want to see a show with just them.
Yeah, especially like the sisters and the mom, and they definitely make the show.
So my favorite guy, or my favorite character, I should say, is Vince, who is
Vince,
the
yeah.
now father-in-law of Molly. And the best part about it is he's the father-in-law. She's a little bit older, and he has the thickest Chicago and a little hint of like there's a different subtlety in the Italian Chicago accent. And it's just amazing how thick it is because the show is set in Chicago. So everybody has a Chicago accent to some extent, except for the sister. Did you know that she has a Southern drawl? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
See, you live down in Houston. I figured you'd be picking that up right away.
It's just normal to me.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody else is abnormal. You're thinking, wait a second, why does she sound normal? We'll talk about what's happening on the PGA next.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows. So when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our...
Yeah, I forgot about Vince. I was thinking her sister and Mike's mom.
Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get Viagra.
How long
at
is that
huge
interview? Do
discount.
you know?
Generic sildenafil allows you to save up to $600
Replay one?
Yeah.
per pill.
I'm pulling it up right now. It is $13.30.
Sildenafil pills for
Do you
only
want to,
$99.
at some point-
This can cost as much as
And I could even do
$750
it
at your
if
local
you,
pharmacy. You
uh,
can't
if
afford
you don't,
not to
but
call
do you
us.
wanna
If you want
just
Viagra at
let
the
me know what
lowest
the final
prices,
segment
never
is and I
pay
can record that?
$15 a pill for the name brand.
What do you mean? Like, we can play this at the 40 and we can record the final segment during there. That's fine.
Okay. Or do you want to do it at 8?
For just $99.
Wait, your Eastern time. Oh, 7. Okay.
Take your call now. Call 800.
Because how much time do you think we'll need? 2.5 minutes?
Yeah, I'll do the math and get you the exact.
I mean,
time,
I
but
could even disconnect.
It should be somewhere.
You should be
around 2
hearing
minutes.
us. This is why we're on the stream,
founder
pal,
and
so you
CEO
could hear everything. This is all access radio right now.
Yeah, no. So we're doing the replay at 40, right?
Correct. So what I'd say is I can, if it's like 2.5 minutes or so for the final segment, I can record that at the top of the hour, and we could just run it at 40 and bounce.
EL lifestyle. Okay, we can record it at the top of the hour.
Now here's the thing, though. I
Max
can
immediately.
jump
Thank you
off.
and stay safe.
If it's easier, I can just disconnect and do it on my end.
That's fine.
I just need to know the time.
Okay.
That's all. Not right.
Oh crap! Hang on a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's my fault, bro. Totally my fault.
This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Shander.
We'll see if Eric Patterson agrees and appreciate Gaza Youth 1 on the Periscope channel. That's Shander Show weighing in. Seinfeld, he's the quarterback for that show. I'm talking about Seinfeld. Absolutely. And that's the first experience of the stream in the break, letting us know he can hear us. And that's the whole point. That's why we encourage you to join the stream. Twitch.tv/Shander Show. At Shander Shows, we're streaming across all platforms, Facebook and YouTube as well. So you can hear what we talk about, because a lot of times it's nonsense. It's all PG. It's all on the level. But it's nonsense. And most of the time, it just spurs more conversation. Now, I told you that there's a ton of value right now heading into this final round. And thank you for your patience as we now bring on Eric Patterson at Eat Pat Golf on the Progressive Guest Line, who can shed a lot of light on the value heading into the final day at the Travelers. Again, covering all things golf at The Score, thescore.com/PGA. Eric, Eitan Shander, appreciate your time tonight. Hope all is well with you and yours.
Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, same right back at you.
How excited are you when you look at what might be another final day that we kind of saw last week, right? Where you have a pretty wide range of names, maybe not as much, but let's look at, I guess we should start here. What do you look at as far as the cutoff for where you can start finding value for somebody to win this thing? And we'll get into top fives and top tens in a couple of minutes. But if you look at the leader right now and Brendan Todd at 18 under, where is that cutoff to where you think that there's value versus the deficit is just too much?
Yeah, so going into the final round, you kind of have to look at what you think the winning score is going to be. So Brendan Todd is at 18 under right now. If you peg him to shoot 4 or 5 under, which I know he's kind of been putting together those rounds already this week, that might be a little high, but 21, 22 under, I think, is what the target's going to be. So you're going to need someone, if they're like a 12 under right now, they're going to need a 9 under round. So there's a handful of guys they're going to need a really low day on Sunday, but there is a handful of guys that you could consider. But Todd and Johnson and then even Kevin Streelman have kind of separated themselves from the pack. So it's slim pickings, but you can find some value further down on the leaderboard.
How much of a deterrent, and mainly going into the final day and trying to cherry pick 3 rounds of golf as much as possible, but how much of a deterrent is it to you to see a guy, even if he's right there at the top, like Todd and even DJ right below him, who just show up and destroy the course and shoot a 60, 61, knowing that it might be pretty difficult to duplicate that 2 days in a row?
Yeah, I guess that is working in, if you're looking for a guy outside of Todd and Johnson, that is something to look for, because it's extremely hard to back up a 61 with, like, say, a 63 or even a 64. But I'm a little more confident in Johnson's ability to do that than Todd's at this point. I mean, Todd does have 2 wins this year, but at the same time, he hasn't played alongside a 20-time PGA Tour winner in the final group. So I think that's going to kind of change the dynamic for him and maybe put a little more pressure on him. But yeah, you can definitely look at that as a reason why you would want to go and look for a guy who's a bit further down on the board to kind of come back and steal this thing.
I get that Todd would be less than 200. I was a little shocked that it might not be a little lower there, but DJ's at plus 200, and I guess that's the temptation, right? It's still pretty good value for a guy who's only 2 off, and looks like the last 2 rounds, at least, he's been playing really consistent, but you kind of have to weigh that with how difficult it might be for him just to shoot a 65.
Yeah, if I was going to pick one guy to win this, it would be DJ, just given that little bit of value you do get on him over Todd. I'm not really sold on Streelman or Hughes, to be honest, but yeah, so it's going to be DJ for me. And if you really want to go start digging for a long shot, I'd start looking at guys like Abraham Answer, who's at 12 under, Kevin Nas at 13. He's a little enticing, and there's a few other names. I'm not sure what odds we're looking at here, but you can get some triple-digit guys who Patton Kizzire kind of stands out. He's been playing really well the last 2 days, so I think you can get him at like 100 to 1. So
actually,
if you really
wow, I have him at 150 to 1 on DraftKings
so there
and
you
PA.
go. Yeah, 150 Kizzire. So
wow,
I'll kind of spew on him. First round, he putted extremely well. The last 2 rounds, he's been really dialed in with his irons. So if he can piece both those together for the final round, I could see him as someone who's 150 to 1, who could flirt with that 61 score that you're going to need to kind of catch up to Todd and DJ.
If you even look at where his odds are at a top 5, top 10, it's plus 900 for a top 5 finish, plus 250 for a top 10. So even finishing in the top 10, which, as you mentioned, playing the way in which he has, as consistent as he's been on the green, that's a hell of a piece of value right there for a guy to finish in the top 10 even.
Yeah, 9-1 top 5 for Kazire. He
Yes.
only has to pass a few guys. I mean, he's 3 back of Streelman going into this round. So I could see him vaulting up a bit and definitely worth a look there. So Patton Kazire would be the one guy, if you really want to kind of stretch the board, if you're not looking to pick a winner, is someone I would consider.
Eric Patterson joining us at ePat Golf, all things golf for The Score at thescore.com/PGA. How about Bryson? We haven't really talked much about Big Bryson here, the huge bot, which I'm sure everybody now on the tour has caught wind of, right? And probably ordered at least a crate or 2 of inshore shakes.
Yeah, he is definitely taking the tour by storm.
It's awesome.
And yeah, he's backing it up. So there's, you can kind of criticize him for going, a weird kind of way and bulking up and kind of looking a little different than your typical PGA Tour pro. But the results have been there. And I don't think we've seen the best of Bryson this week, which is pretty scary considering he's only 5 back. So he's obviously hitting it a mile off the tee. He hasn't really found it with his wedges. I've been watching the last few days, and he's kind of airmailing a few greens. So if he can kind of hone that in a bit, he hasn't really posted that 62 number that a lot of these guys at the top have so far. So Bryson's one to consider. His number didn't really stand out to me as someone I'd want to go get. But if you might be able to get him live tomorrow if he birdies the first hole or 2, that might be worth jumping on if he is destined to go really, really low tomorrow.
Well, I'm wondering if, and again, it would be probably best served if you could match this up with a couple of tickets getting you some positive return. But yes, at plus 900 to win it, as you mentioned, it's a steep climb, but it's doable. I wonder if, and trying to split the middle here because there's no value at all at minus 335. I see it for a top 10 finish, but depending on what you play, the minus 112 for a top 5, is that something you would be confident in?
I mean, that's not the route I would typically take when it comes to wagering on golf specifically, but it's something if you're just kind of want to, that's almost a coin flip at that point. It is something I would expect him to finish in the top 5. I definitely could see him getting within 1 or 2 shots of whoever wins this thing. So I could see him passing Hughes and Streelman kind of with ease there, and then vaulting into the top 5. It's just a matter of someone at minus 12 comes up and kind of edges him out. So not typically the way I would go, but if you do want more of a coin flip option there, it's definitely one to consider, because I do think that Bryson's kind of best round is still ahead of him.
Are you surprised at where Phil is right now on the leaderboard?
Mickelson, I think he was like 200 to 1 to open the week. So I was kind of surprised where he was after 36 holes. And this round today, I kind of, you saw him struggle a bit off the tee, struggle a bit with his, wedge game. He put a bunker shot onto the train tracks, which is not something you typically see, but 4 rounds of golf for a 50-year-old, say what you will about the age, but it is a lot. And I'm more, this is where I would expect him to kind of be for a good week. And I'm not really picking Mickelson to win much anymore. So I could see him going shooting a few under par tomorrow, but I don't think he's really going to have a good chance, on the final few holes.
I have met even money for a top 10 finish. Would you even sniff that?
That really depends if we're going to start paying ties out. Like, I don't know if you guys are doing, dead heat rules and those types of things, because he would have to shoot about four under maybe tomorrow to have a chance at a top 10, I think, because there are some pretty quality names chasing him too. So even money is, again, not something I would typically target in golf, but at the same time, you maybe put top 10 on Mickelson and a top 5 on Bryson. You can probably have a good chance at hitting both of those. So something to consider for sure. I think Mickelson is going to rebound a bit on Sunday, but I don't think he's really has the 65 in him that he's going to need.
I'm curious, Eric, are either Rory or Rahm just too far out of it to make a play even on a top 10 finish?
Top 10, I could definitely see. I'm trying to. Rom is.
Rom, I have it here. I'm sorry.
10.
Rom, I have it plus 150. McIlroy at plus 110.
I would consider Rom. I think Rom. They're both even, and give them one round. I would take the extra little value on Rom there. McIlroy just hasn't looked, although he's in contention, he hasn't looked quite right since the return. And Rom, he's building on a 4-under round from today. So I would take the extra value on Rom. I think even last week at the Heritage, he put together a really solid final round. So he has it in him to go low, and he's only a few shots out of the top 10 right now. So if you're looking to go that way, definitely Rom over McIlroy. But I could see them both kind of making a run. Even at 11 under, there's not. I mean, Hovland's there, but a few of these other guys I could see kind of dropping off, and Zach Johnson and Will Gordon. So he won't have to pass that too many guys to get into the top 10. That's Rom and McIlroy.
Who's the name that would surprise you the most? And just use the benefit of looking at where we are right now, leaderboard from Todd down to anybody that you mentioned, answer with some outside value. Who would be the name that would shock you the most? That's in contention. 3 strokes maybe off the most. That would shock you the most talking about winning the Travelers.
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't want to talk too poorly about him because he is he's a Canadian guy, Mackenzie Hughes, but
don't worry, we won't send it to him. I promise.
No, he's already shot his 60 for the week, so it's hard to go back out there and do it again. He has stayed in contention, which I am pleasantly surprised by, but at the same time, he typically relies on a really hot putter to shoot those rounds. I think he was making like 35 footers. He made a few of those on Thursday to shoot 60. So not someone who typically relies on like the tee to green aspect of the game. So his low rounds are a little more few and far between, but I would be pretty surprised if he overtakes both DJ and Todd and at 14 under. I think that's just too much of an ask for him.
He's at plus 200 for a top 5 finish.
Yeah, again, say he gets to 16 under, and then he's only 4 shots off the guys who are at 12 under, and I could see a few of them making a bit of a run. DeChambeau being one of them, Answer being one of them, Kazire being one of them. So that right there kind of knocks him out of the top 5. So
that's fair.
I mean, big supporter of Hughes. I wish I would have seen a little more tee to green through 3 rounds, but he's gonna he really needs a good round of putting to kind of keep him in the mix.
Hey, real quick, I've got about 30 seconds or so just on the way out. This has been awesome. Really appreciate it. Who's the most surprising name to miss the cut?
Got to be Justin Thomas for me. He was one of the favorites coming into the week. He played pretty well for the first 2 weeks, couple top 10s, and he didn't really have his A game. So you'd think he was kind of trending towards that A game and being in contention, but he couldn't hit an iron or make a putt this week, which is kind of a recipe for a miscut. So Justin Thomas, one to watch moving forward. Obviously didn't make the cut this week, but he's definitely trending towards a win, kind of like Bryson is. So JT should rebound pretty quickly.
Awesome stuff, Eric. Thank you. Eric Patterson at ePat Golf, all things golf at The Score. Thanks, man. Stay safe and appreciate the time tonight.
Yeah, anytime. Appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate the insight as well. And I was playing picks as he was giving them. We'll wrap the hour next.
Wake up call. We know Major League Baseball is trying to get back, but eventually it will, and eventually minor league baseball will be back. And if you are a minor league team in need of a change of identity, would you go with
my buddy Jed
Hornets?
Marshall? He's
I think
the
it's a
producer in Kansas
fantastic
City.
idea.
Yeah.
And they
With
do the
a
afternoon drive
Murder
show.
Hornet.
Sorrent Petro.
Uh-huh.
And he
Do some
texted- he
letter or
listens,
something,
so
like
he-
if it's
he
Chattanooga,
texted me.
you got a
Good
C
Cootie
on
Bump.
it, the
That's you
Murder
playing
Hornet
that, right?
blast.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, man.
Race between a
Yeah, I have one on here from Kid Cudi and one on here from Wiz Khalifa that I always like. People always say something when I play it.
running against a couple of bees, and you get the fans dressed up as bees, and they're running, and if they can outrun the murder hornet, they get a prize pack. But if the murder hornet catches them, unfortunately, he's got to rip their head off.
Wake Up Call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Game time decisions.
I'm Gabriel Morency, inviting you to join me and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart weekdays at 6 Eastern on SB Nation Radio, the loudest station in the nation. No games, no problem. We've got your back. Weekdays at 6. We throw it down. Best bets, props. If they're playing, we'll find a number on it. Bring it. Weekdays at 6. SB Nation Radio. Game time decisions.
Game time decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. The second level. The second level.
It's either Tony, Jake, or me. Okay. Who gives the best life advice?
Right now, Tony.
Okay. Now, why? And you know, I'm not going to get upset.
Given the choices, right?
Tony just doesn't sound as much as a kid as I do.
Exactly. Exactly. He has priorities, or he has, he has responsibilities in his life that you don't have. Jake, I just put together his bike yesterday.
Yes. See, how hard was that? That's a perfect answer.
He just learned how to make eggs over quarantine. And that's not a recipe. That's not eggs over Florentine. I'm literally saying during the quarantine, he made eggs for the first time ever.
Embarrassing. And he admitted it. And apparently the bacon went even worse.
And I still think he's cooking like one strip of bacon at a time, which blows my mind. Why not just cook the entire pack?
Yeah.
It's meat candy.
If it's
Jake,
a pound of bacon, then you might as well cook it.
Yeah, it's a pound of bacon. You need to pound that bacon.
The second level. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Chaotic segment.
Wake up call.
Which one?
That promo was off of
Oh.
Hour that the elite NBA teams are going to be staying at is going to be a point of contention. Like when the Clippers meet the Grizzlies and they start talking about the accommodations, well, we have a 16th floor panoramic view bar that's very nice for us to hang out. And the Grand Floridian folks are going to be like, well, we have a train we're not allowed to go on.
Wake Up Call.
Oh, yeah.
with
Do you
Tony
know how
B
much
and
time you
Ron
need?
Culver. Weekdays.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'll find out right now.
Okay. No worries.
This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's a
Mike's on.
Just got this in from William Hill. $100,000 money line wager placed on Dan Hooker at plus 200 to win tonight in the main event. That could net $200,000 placed just this afternoon in Vegas. Well, Southern Nevada, which I imagine, right? My goodness. Earlier on Poirier, a $19,200 money line wager was placed to defeat Hooker at that same book. Now, that wager, the largest placed with William Hill on the favorite so far, would net $8,000. Look at the difference, because he's at minus 240. $100,000 money line wager on Dan Hooker to win this sucker tonight. Man, you have to have a lot of confidence, or you maybe owe a casino some favors, and that happens.
All right, I need 3 minutes.
All right, do you want me to do it here, or?
I got to switch you over to the other studio if we're going to do it.
No, I'll do it on my end.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Pharrell